I have a question, Kate.
Yep.
Can I start a fire in the office?
Sure, start a fire in the office. It's cold here. It's not even as cold as it was. It was
Good
really,
Lord.
really cold. Doc would have been just a doxicle over in the corner.
Yo, people, I'm dying over here. Anyways, welcome to another edition of The Flow. I, as you can tell, am in the lovely Ecamm Studios right now.
And we are gearing up to leave for Orlando tomorrow morning to be at Podfest. And we're switching things up for you. So if you're joining us live right now, feel free to drop in any and all podcast questions that you have. We're just going to do an open Q&A today. We were going to be joined by Marielou, but Marielou and a number of other Ecamm fam are all being affected by the fires in Los Angeles. So our hearts go out to them. So we're changing it up today. We know that many of you have podcast questions. So send us your questions. We will answer them as best as we can here, but we'll also take them with us to podcast.
Yeah, if there's something that we, like you asked a question and we're like, you know what, let's go dig deeper, then we can go be boots on the ground in Orlando, Florida, and check with folks there. So all the podcasty type experts are going to be there. So
yeah,
it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm the most excited about Disneyland.
World.
Why? Gretchen told me the other day that I was saying it backwards, and I'm like, leave me alone, Gretchen. But okay, world. World is Florida, land is California.
So I'm most excited about specific to Podfest. So a couple things. One of our Ecamm fam members, a close friend of ours, and just an all-around incredible person, Lou Mandl, is being honored and entered into the Podcast Hall of Fame. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Normally I'm like, I can't decide whether or not I want to go to that.
See, we're on the same track.
And then, but this one, I'm like, well, I've got to be there because Lou's going to be there, and I just can't. I'm just so excited. And I mean, what a podcasting legend his podcast has been around.
Right. So I'm going to defend my honor because, what does Lou podcast about, Kate?
Disney World, Disney in general. WDW Radio, so Walt Disney World Radio is Lou's podcast. It's an incredible podcast. Even if you're not a giant Disney person, he is just like best in class for his everything, really. I mean, for podcasting, for marketing in general. He runs an incredible event called Momentum that I was lucky enough to go to last year. He's just great. So
this is good people.
So I'm super excited for that. And then the second thing I'm really excited about is that we're building out this like absolutely awesome space.
That's going to be fun.
It's going to be so fun. And I didn't get to go to Podcast Summit last year, which is where we kind of originally came up with this idea. So I'm geeking out a little bit about getting my nook on.
It's a lot. It's funny because I can see that Kathy K-Walk is in the chat. And when we were in Atlanta,
hey, Kathy.
It was so cool because Kathy came over to help us. So she drove down from North Carolina to Atlanta to help us out. And being a professional educator, AKA teacher, then later principal, it was fun to watch her beehive to all the different booths to help everybody out. And it was like she was at school. Like get the kids in their desks and then get the little setup, and then like, okay, just click over here, then y'all be good. And then she's coming back and checking everybody. So it was really fun. And I think that once you get a chance to see what the energy of people recording like together in a room, it's kind of hard to explain. Like, I hate to say that on a podcast thing. It's like, you have to be there, but you have to be there. You will see it. You will see it. It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
She said, once a teacher, always a teacher.
Once a teacher, always a teacher.
It's pretty rad.
What I'm really excited about is that, so it's funny, we've been talking for the last, few years, probably even all 5 years that I've been here, but we've been talking about like all different kinds of studios and studio setups and kind of whether or not you want to go big and crazy like this space is, or you want to have a really simple space. And what I love is that we're finally at a time in life where you can create like a pretty incredible small space studio live from an event. Like these little nooks are incredible, but basically they're just creating like a closed space. And then we have our friends at Shure are going to be bringing MV6 microphones. So that's, oh shoot, I think I lent it to Meg. But anyway, that's a microphone that is kind of their simpler one that has a built-in stand with it. And then we just have people using their phones as a camera. So what's great about this is that I think it gets people back to basics. It reminds them that sometimes we overthink it and make it bigger than it needs to be. And really, the goal is just to record that content. There's all these people that are there, amazing interviewing opportunities, and just a really great time to be able to record some content.
I've been watching a lot of the sort of celebrity TV people who have recently launched podcasts and are doing podcasts on YouTube specifically. So this is where I'm watching them. So Trevor Noah, Chelsea Handler, what's her face? What's the lady's name from Chicago? Oprah.
Oh,
wow.
Wow, lady from Chicago.
Wow. Okay. Anyway.
Hey, do you know Oprah from Chicago?
Yeah. She's she does this thing like, everybody gets a podcast. Anyway, so I'm watching her show. And she had Mel Robbins on, who absolutely loved, and also Mel Robbins' podcast. And it's funny, but I'm looking at Oprah's show, and it's literally that round table, way fancier than that one. If that's like $1,000 table, hers is probably like $100,000. But it's just a round table, and 2 Shure SM7Bs. Painted green from Colorware PC, like your mic that you use for yours at home. And it's just 2 pop lights, which basically we have right here in the studio.
Yeah.
And so there's someone off camera that is, controlling, but they do the majority of the show on the 2-shot, which is what we're doing right now in lingo, where Katie and I are sitting here would be considered a 2-shot.
Yep.
So in the Ecamm studio right now, there is a Sony ZV-E10 right there, right in front. And what they would often do is at the 45 degrees, because we're facing forward, is they put one camera there that's directed directly at me, and then one camera here that's directed directly at Katie.
And we're getting there. We have one over there.
We have one over there, right?
We never use it though, so that's.
But the thing is, and that's why I'm saying what's really trippy to me is that we're talking about Oprah, and it's in her mansion in Maui, which is her mansion in Maui is like half the size of Amesbury. So everybody who's been to Creator Camp, Oprah's ranch is about the size of this town. Okay, she could do anything she wants. She is sitting at a table with a single camera and 2 microphones.
Yep.
Having a conversation. And you know why nobody's tripping out about switching scenes and effects and overlays and everything? Because it's Oprah.
Because it's Oprah, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
But it does. The thing is, though, it is Oprah, but it's also any person who could have an engaging conversation.
Yep.
And so the biggest struggle I see people doing, and I don't want to blame it directly on confidence. I want to blame it partially on not understanding that if you are going to go out in any endeavor, and I use cooking a lot as an example, you're going to get told, all right, today we're going to do sauces. You know what they're going to start you with? Bechamel.
I love a bechamel.
You're Canadian, of course. Isn't that like the base of poutine?
I think.
Well, no, because that's gravy. That's
not gravy. Yeah.
Bechamel. Would
you
be
got me. I was about to say. I was like, yes.
Sorry, I'm slipping. Let me stop messing with the Canadian lady. So, Paul, I'm sorry. I almost clicked on the survey. I didn't this time. But they make you start with the bechamel because you need to understand the basic techniques of the sauce, the break, the emulsion, so forth, so on, etc. From the bechamel, they'll teach you Alfredo, and they'll teach you, Florentine and a bunch of other sauces. You go from there, right? When you start out as a house painter, you will initially be the buff guy. And that don't mean strength. I mean, just put white paint first. You're going to put the white paint down. You ain't allowed to touch anything else. I think more people should trust in their soup and get really good at the single camera shot, hold your own in the podcast. Once you've got that nailed down, then and only then should you attempt to do anything else.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If that makes sense, right? You like Simone Biles started walking down the beam. She did not do what I think she does now. With the we have a joke in the house. Baba, she calls it a hata hata, and that's kind of Okinawan saying for when you get wobbly. Because you know when they do the 3 spin on the 1 feet and then they always got to catch themselves? You know, they're like stuck down with the leg out and they twirl and it looks like they're going to fall off. She goes, oh, no, they're going to. That part drives her insane because that's a good way to bust your neck, you know, if you're not really gracious. So I remember even in gym class as kids and we're in kindergarten, the only thing you're allowed to do is walk straight across. Mm-hmm. And they made us do it too. Eventually it becomes a girls only event. So about 6th grade, guys get sent to go do something else. But we all started with just walk across the beam. Yeah. You weren't even allowed to do one leg stuff. The teacher would lose their mind. So I would love for people to get used to just doing that, you know, a nice simple shot. And so if you watch the celebrity podcast and really pay attention and take them apart, most of them are extremely simple and they can do anything. They got budgets galore.
Yeah. This is a great question from John. So shout out to John who's hanging out with us. Learner to learner today. So John is asking, is podcasting still primarily an audio medium or is video a must these days?
Listen, John. Yes, Oprah's coming to camp for Creator Camp. I was doing my show on Saturday and somebody said, oh, you should channel in John for this. And I was like, listen, leave me alone.
2025, Doc is sometimes replaced by John.
I'll take it, dude. John is one of the best people in the planet. I absolutely love John. So, John, I think that is a fantastic question.
It's a great question.
And I would say video is going to dominate audio this year. And the reason why I say so is I can name really off the top of my head like 25 celebrity podcasts that have just recently went to video.
Yeah, I was going to say it's funny. We've been talking for the last like few years, obviously, about video first podcasting. But, you know, I mean, we're Ecamm, obviously we're video people. So we're coming at it from a different angle than some of the kind of quote unquote traditional podcasters who've been in the audio space for a long time. Right. But you are absolutely right. Like I notice even my like mid-level podcasts that I'm like, you know, super into that are, you know, widely popular in like a particular category. They're starting
like Tony
to
and
add
Ryan?
more. Well, Tony and Ryan is probably one of the biggest ones I listen to, but like Morbid, for example, or Obituary, which are like medium-sized podcasts in the kind of true crime realm of podcasting, right? And they've been very hesitant about video for a very long time, along with a lot of audio first podcasters, right? But now they've been adding in like special Patreon only live stream events and and their listener tales episodes, which are kind of like for the people from the people style episodes. Those ones are now on YouTube and now they're talking about their YouTube chat. So I think you're right. Like I think there's been a lot of pushback from people who have really like spent the last few years building out these like very powerhouse, large audio only podcasts, and they like the audio only because they like being probably like in their pajamas or laying in bed or who knows whatever while they're doing it. But people want to connect with them. People want to know what they look like.
It's interesting you say that.
Incorporating more of this video into it.
It's interesting you say that because I was watching the Chelsea Handler show and she's in her house. Her assistant is on the couch because somebody has to reel her in. If you know Chelsea Handler,
she needs a handler.
She has a handler. So her assistant's on the couch sitting
Chelsea's
sideways.
Handler.
And she's sitting there, feet on the couch, and I don't know how she folds herself into this little pretzel, but she's sitting there with no makeup, nothing, talking to or whatever celebrity.
Props. I love it.
So that's why I think it's so cool, because she's giving regular people, I hate to say that term, it sounds so weird, but you guys know what I mean by that. She's giving people from an ordinary lifestyle that's not a celebrity basically permission to just be themselves. So she's not doing, you know, crazy makeup, crazy lighting, no special effects. And when the guest comes, she has them sitting on another couch, but it's not like a fancy fake studio. It's her actual house.
Yeah.
And she's in her den. Like, when we, after Thanksgiving at your house where we're all sitting in the book room,
Yeah, it's conversational.
she's in her book room.
Yeah.
And she's having a conversation, and she does like half with the individual, and then she goes on to bring in either emails or live calls from people who are in the audience, and it's brilliant. So there will be tons and tons and tons of audio podcasts, John, that won't go anywhere yet. But if you weren't here last show, I believe you were still traveling. I mentioned that YouTube released numbers in the beginning of January that states over 1 billion hours of video podcasts are watched on television sets, not using the computer like some of you guys are now, not using your mobile, on television sets.
Yeah.
And when that number is that big, it totally makes sense why even the big dogs are like, yo, we better get in, because they don't want to get left behind.
And what's neat about it, I think, is that there are opportunities for it to blend together. So I kind of love, and I know this is a weird thing for someone that works at a video company to say, but I sort of love that they are not just like immediately diving into like, oh, I'm just going to completely change my podcast to make it fit into this, YouTube world. Instead, they're saying like, these are really special video first moments that we're creating for our community. And they're sort of slowly like, growing their podcast and expanding it out and trying these different, so there's an experimentation that's happening, which I think is great because it's getting us to think about podcasts and shows differently. How it's being blended together with live streaming is really cool and special. So I watch this space and watch this place. If you're not listening or watching any of this like kind of bigger celebrity podcasts, find one, even just to pay attention to what they are doing and what they will continue to do going forward. Because I think, they're obviously coming at it from a different standpoint than us regular people. And they obviously have much larger budgets and and a different world, but what they are doing is setting the stage for the rest of us and understanding what's possible to kind of take out of these different things, and what you could apply to your own show. I think it's going to be really interesting. So
yes. So here's a good one. Tora, not a question, but Tora's responding to something that she heard, and I think this is kind of funny. My first, so I'll read it just to make sense. Tora, this is what is the word? Hearsay?
Yeah.
Anecdotal? The hearsay. Someone posited or made a statement of, why should I create? With everyone creating, there'll be no audience. Hopefully you don't know this person, Tora, because if you do, I would tell you just
shut this person down.
Never talk to them. Don't be around them. That behavior is contagious. Scarcity mindset will probably be the downfall of humanity in general. Because it's funny how people will say that about an audience, right? But no one ever talks about the oversaturation of the planet while we're pushing 8.7. In the 2 years, we will hit 9 billion. And nobody stops procreating. Why? Well, because that part is fun, right? Nobody stops buying cars, but everybody complains about traffic. And yet people will always talk about this thing about there's no audience. But I think one portion of it is, I don't think people can really quantify what an actual billion looks like. And so YouTube has at any given time 2.8 billion active users. Right now, while Katie and I are here, mathematically, there'll be a new people that pop up in the chat. Okay, so there's no audience. Now, TV Dental News from Brazil, how you doing?
Hey.
Welcome. I do this all the time, and I'm pretty good at remembering stuff. I don't remember seeing this particular name and avatar combination. So here we are talking about a show that's happening in Orlando, and obviously not going to come from Brazil to go to Orlando for this, but is listening because there's some information there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, it's really weird. People think that doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because if that was the case, nothing would get invented, because everybody would sit around and goes, well, everybody's inventing stuff, so why should I invent something? So that part is crazy. I wouldn't sweat that.
People also want to connect. I'm gonna share a story, and hopefully he's okay with me sharing this, but I'm gonna share it anyway because Josh is a good guy. So I started my podcast a couple of years ago, in a really crowded space. We've talked about this a ton of times, but I'm in like the movie space, and I'm in the specific niche of 80s and 90s movies, right? And I and my best friend both grew up in Montreal, in Canada. And so we have a different perspective on a bunch of things than for example, Doc, right? Who didn't grow up in Canada. So we're doing our show, and we're not trying to change the world. We're doing it predominantly because we're having fun. And we start seeing this guy, Josh, who shows up in the comments. He's attending our show live every single week. And so we become friends with him. We're chatting with him. We invite him to join us for a few episodes. We're talking to him. Turns out Josh also lives in Canada, grew up at the same time as us. And a lot of the stuff that he really likes, we also really like. The shows and movies and things that kind of make up his childhood and his level of nostalgia, we also like as well, right? So talking more with him and having him like on the show and kind of becoming friends with Josh, we realized that like Josh grew up pretty isolated. He lived in this really small town. He's in a wheelchair, so he wasn't he didn't have as many opportunities to be part of different communities. And these movies and this television were really foundational for him, and he didn't really have all that many people to talk to about it. Like his siblings were watching different stuff, and it was so he is spending time with us because he just thinks it's awesome that there are two people that like the same stuff that he does, that grew up in the same kind of world that he did, that he just feels like he can connect.
And he has an awesome collection.
Randomly found us just by searching around on YouTube, and he was watching. And there are other shows he also listens to. Maybe he likes those shows more than ours or less than ours. It doesn't matter. But the point is, we never would have become friends with him. He never would have been kind of part of our audience had we not just put it out there. Had we said to ourselves, oh, there's a bajillion movie podcasts out there. Who are we to contribute? Because our perspective
there wouldn't be even more movies for you to talk about if every person thought there's a bajillion movies. Why should I make another movie?
Yeah, exactly.
And Melvin just said, that's like him saying, why should I make music? Everybody's making music. Yeah. Like that thing just really cracks me up. I've come to the realization as I've been doing the Creators Unstuck show, underneath every one of those excuses, there's something deeper lying.
Oh yeah.
I don't mean like lying as in fabricating, but lying as in like on the
lying
bottom.
In wait.
Lying in wait. Thank you, Kate. Then the surface excuse. The surface excuse is a vehicle to carry whatever really bothering this person. Okay, so I want to answer Taisha's question. Hello, Taisha. She said, how is a solo video podcast different from a talking head video? Who said it had to be different? Not. It depends on what you're doing. Okay, so I've had this statement before, and I'll say it again. One thing that a podcast is slightly different is that there is some expectation of continuation. Mm-hmm. Whereas when you do a solo talking head video, and I just did one, you clicked on, you watched it the other day, and it was about this new hard drive, this SSD hard drive that I built. Something that Luis and I had talked about in class, and I was like, you know what, I should make this video. So there's no expectation of me doing a follow-up to that video, right? I just gave you this information. You grab your little $150 and run to Amazon and buy it, or you don't. But when we do this show, you know that next Tuesday there'll be another, and then there's another and another. Well, because we state what the schedule is going to be. The other thing that makes a podcast different is there is a certain level of distribution, which is where the word cast is from, right? So
we're casting it out.
We're casting it out to the world. So there's a monocast, which is just talking one person to one person. Then there's a multicast where you're talking to multiple people. Then there's a broadcast where you're talking to everybody. There's cablecast, which is a broadcast that happens over a wire in a subscription service. So theoretically, people who do a course and you go every week to see a new updated video in the course, that's the internet version of what would have been a cablecast, like HBO, right? But now we can do it on the internet. So yeah, the podcast term was sort of manufactured. It wasn't intended to put a label on something, but just think of this as an episodic show that is on episode 95 right now, when we thought we might get through 10. So then Katie was like, "This is fun." And then I was like, "Damn it, we're still going." No, I'm just joking. I've been podcasting since 2005.
I'm keeping Doc consistent. That's what's happening.
No, absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And I've been doing video podcasts since 2009. So it's funny that it's catching on now. But for those of us from Twit or TUAW, those of us that did it way back in the day when it's only pretty much the Mac people doing it, yeah, absolutely.
Everything is cyclical.
Absolutely great. So now the other, she did ask a follow-up, and I'm going to carry this out just because it's perfect timing. Would there be a way that I could integrate podcasts and that type of content that you do? Absolutely. So on YouTube, see, it's cool because you're creating a very consistent show on your YouTube channel. You take all of those videos from week 1 to, I think you're on like week 50 something, if I remember. You could take all of those with that one particular green style of thumbnail that I yelled at you about, put those in a playlist, and once that playlist is made on YouTube, there's a checkbox that says turn this into a podcast, in which case all you would need to do is go make a 3,000 by 3,000 pixel image that is the square image for your podcast, and give it a title and description, and you have yourself a podcast.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it'd be really cool.
So Travis asks about our audio, so we should answer that.
I saw that.
These are Shure SM7Bs. We usually use the MV7s, we switched over. So these are the SM7Bs, and they are connected into a Rodecaster Pro Duo.
For the most part,
no Pro.
For the most part, Travis, SM7Bs plugged into almost any interface will sound basically the same. We're not doing anything special with the Rodecaster.
Yeah, we're really not.
I turn off all the processing and all of that stuff because I was born with a sexy voice, and then Katie. I'm joking.
We do some processing for Katie's unsexy
No,
voice.
we don't. We didn't touch it. We actually found that for the Duo and the 2, they have enough sound level built into those products that they don't really require the cloud lifter and amplifiers.
Yeah, we actually have a cloud lifter. We just didn't.
And
really
so we found that if we
worthwhile.
over process it with the Rode, and then YouTube's going to process it again, you get a kind of a double processing. So through some testing with Daniel, if you haven't met Daniel Travis, A, you're lucky. B, he is the person that will test everything. We decided to just turn off all the processing and just let the SM7B be the SM7B. This microphone sounds delicious because it's basically been the same basic microphone since 1972. I mean, theoretically 66, but what we know it as is 1972. So it is a venerable microphone. Don't rush out and buy one. LD, I hope you're not watching. Did you see Laura in here? Oh, she will kill
Cover
me.
your ears, Laura.
Cover your ear, Loris. Use whatever you got. Like, really don't run out and do that, because one thing about microphones, and this is, I want everyone to hear this. I do a lot of reviews on microphones, and I tell you what they sound like. There's no way in the world it will sound like that on your voice, because there's only one voice like this. There's only one voice like that. There's only one voice like yours. There's only one voice that sounds like Torah, which constantly plays on repeat in my head. Yeah, everyone's voice is very different, which is why you can use it as a key. My voice is my password. What movie was that? Was that Hackers?
Oh, I think it was Hackers.
Yeah. So,
oh no.
See, I got the movie lady again.
I'll be right back.
You really need to do a couple things. If you're looking for a mic, if you can, if there's a music store or someplace by you that will let you rent them and try them out, that's helpful. Or if you're ever in New York, you go to B&H. They have a room. You can literally talk to like 50 mics in a single day. Or make sure you get it from somewhere where you can return it, or borrow from someone that you can test. But one thing that's really cool about Shure and Rode and a couple other microphone companies out there is they do build around a basic profile, so everyone will sound good on a particular mic. But like, there's some pro level mics that I just sound terrible on because they don't know what to do with all of this bass, right? So Shure they'll be 100 years old on April 25th.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's bananas. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like because of the Shure, which is also why if you watch Oprah or what's his name, Conan, or any of these guys, they're all using SM7Bs. It's like the most popular.
Sneakers. That was it, Paul.
Sneakers.
Thank you.
There you go.
I was like, hackers.
I
That's
was
not,
close.
but yes.
Paul, I didn't sleep in 20-something hours. Leave me alone. I'm joking. Super good. Super good.
Yeah, great question. I will say, like, it, yeah, like leveling up is a good way to go when it comes with microphones. So yeah, start with what you have, and then and then get better as your budget allows. But I got myself the Shure MV7, so not the Plus, but the Shure MV7 before the Plus was released. And that one has been a great microphone for my use cases. It was better than the one that I had previously. It's easy for me just to directly plug in, or I connect it to a mixer. But I had to kind of bump my way through until I figured out which was the best fit
good,
for and part of it was sound, and part of it was space, and part of it was like my setup, and part of it there's a lot that goes into it. So audio is definitely the most important aspect, way above video and lighting and all of those other things. Like content and then audio are kind of your top two. But there's nothing stopping you from kind of.
I just made a video about this
and playing around,
and I brought up the memory, because a lot of us are Gen Xers in here, of getting an album and sitting in your room listening to the album and just staring at the cover.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's how much audio is so much more ingrained. And then Janet said, oh, also back in the day, a lot of times, on the TV, the picture would go out because, we only had over-the-air TV.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if there's a lightning storm or sometimes a plane flying by, the picture would disappear. So you'd only have the audio to go by, but you'd still be, checking out your show when everyone's watching shows. So yeah, audio is super, super important.
Well, it's immediately noticeable. They're really, if you think about it, just stop and think about it for a minute. You will continue to watch something that you really like if the picture quality is but you can hear it. But vice versa, not going to happen. If you can't hear it, or it's you're like, this is painful to listen to. I can't appreciate this content.
Right.
You can get by. I will say this because I crochet, so I spend a lot of time watching TV, looking down, and I'm just listening to what it is, and I can get 90% of a TV or a movie episode without looking at it at all. But if the audio is bad, it'd be over.
If you were having a VHS tape that your brother or sister taped over 50 times, but you got to tape your show starts to look bad on it, right? It had dropouts and little glitchy lines and stuff, but you were all about it. Because the audio was normally fine. It's normally the picture that would drop. And Melvin, it's funny when you said you love the one about albums, because in my scenario, I use the Ohio Players Honey album because you know what it is. Anyway, because every 13-year-old boy stared at that album forever.
So what about room treatment, Stock? We've talked about this a bunch, but not in a while. So
this room is horrible.
Yeah, this is a former yoga studio, so it's got what 10 windows in it, or 8 windows. It's got so much glass.
Yes.
And also walls, and also steel pipes
right above us.
Yeah.
So this room is bad. Oh, that's horrible. So the best we've done in here so far is on all the windows we have blinds that Jill hung up so nicely. And today they're up, but a lot of times I'll bring them down to cover a lot of the glass. That helps. And
you can put towels down on your desk.
Yes,
or
and
on
big
your
carpet
tables.
over here now. It's not wall to wall, but it did make a big difference in the room sound by putting that there. Most of you people have rooms with furnishings in them, so it won't be as bad. This room, and people who came to camp, you guys understand, it's just big and there's a lot of space. So that space gives a lot of angular problems. I also think it sounds better since we face the corner.
Yeah, and you know what is really, and I somewhat hesitate saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. How much does it matter? How much does it matter? 99% of people are not going to have a perfectly sound treated space.
See, it's hard.
They're really
it's hard
not.
Because Melvin's a musician,
Fair.
And
so that might matter more. But you should
but
ask
what happens
yourself
is
that question.
we start overthinking it. So I want to give Melvin. I'm not giving him a pass. I'm cranking him up because he has the same problem I have. I'm on the opposite side of the music. I ran the board, right? So I can hear all of that stuff, and it drives me batty. But no one else is batty. Like I've been sitting in the back of the room in a stadium with 10,000 people in there watching the show, and I can hear the one off frequency. And the mixer for a show like that is like the length of this table, and I'm trying to hunt down that weird frequency. You know what none of the stone people in the front are doing? Looking at the sound man, be like, "Hey, sound man, you got a little leak at 4K." Not that 4K. It's like Melvin knows what I'm talking about. And nobody's paying attention. I'm the only one sitting there trying to figure it out. Maybe the singer or the guitar player is looking back at me because they can hear it and I can hear it. But nobody else in the room can hear that, right? Melvin would hear it. He's a musician because that tone will be where C is on his trumpet. So
it just depends on what you're trying to do, though. Like, so if Melvin, you were recording, a set, or you're doing something where the music and the experience, where the audio really really matters, maybe in that case you're going to want to really pay close attention to it, because like that's what you're selling, that's what you're providing, and the audio is just such a part of the experience. For a conversational podcast or for a live show, etc., I would be really shocked if anyone on the other end cared, because someone here in the chat, was it Melvin? Someone was saying that our audio sounded great.
That was Travis.
So Travis was saying that our audio sounded great. And what were we doing? And we just said we're in a terrible room, right? So our audio sounds good enough that you're understanding the content, and we could do a bunch of stuff to continue to update it and make it better, and maybe we will, but it's good enough for the purposes that we're doing. And I did see Saeed's comment about acoustic panels. So maybe we'll post a photo, because it's been a while since we've done it off screen that way. We have this hilariously incredible, the Wave, the Wave, famous
Hakusai.
Famous painting. So we have sound panels that are from, what's the name of the company?
Felt Right.
Felt Right. That you basically, they come in a pattern. You can design your own pattern. You stick them to the wall. It's super easy, unless you get the little ones that are like this big, and you have two Virgos trying to put it up on a wall.
On a crooked wall, trying to put it straight.
In which case, it's a nightmare. So those
hilarious.
panels actually, Saeed, are great and have been super helpful. And they come in really cool. You can get it to be really decorative as well as really beautiful. So that's a great option. I've also seen people put artwork where they get just a canvas, and then they'll put batting or
LD showed us that from Michael's.
Things behind. So you could even go to Michael's and do something where it's adding artwork to your space, but thinking intentionally about that can go a long way to improving the overall.
And books do a real good job. So here's
fill your room with books. That's the answer.
Here's a statement. So 01 Creation was asking about VSTs. So we are currently testing it now. All of us moderators have it in hand. We do have VSTs coming very soon. But I think Jeremy just responded. The one thing you need to know is the same problem that you would have with Audio Hijack, or even if you're going through Logic or whatever. Every other processing thing that you add is going to add latency to your ability to monitor. So if I'm in my monitors right now with no processing, if I go, hey, I hear it. But if I run it through a bunch of VSTs, the computer has to actually process that audio. Yeah. So it's going to be like, hey, what you doing? And if I add some more, it's going to be, hey, what? So the more you add, the longer gap you have between your monitoring ears. So again, for a podcast, I mean, the reality is it's going to be listened to primarily on a television set with really crappy speakers,
your phone,
in a car with really crappy speakers, or your phone with really crappy speakers. So most people are overthinking it. Just record. Legit, just record.
Ooh, another Virgo. Yay.
Yeah. Oh. So Melvin, you in the boat with us. See, that makes sense. Now I
We
understand.
feel you. We feel
I
you.
understand. This is why he insisted on having a blue instrument. It matches the sapphire for our stone.
I love it. I love it. Any other amazing questions?
Yeah.
These have been some great ones. We haven't talked about some of these foundations in a while. While you're thinking about questions, we should also remind you that we have a free podcast course. So we cover all aspects of this. It's a really like easy to work your way through. You can skip ahead, find the videos that make sense to you, or you can flow through in order. And the link for that is in the show notes and in the description. It's also in the pinned comment. I think we have a pinned, maybe not yet for this one, but typically also in a pinned comment. So feel free to grab that link, jump in, work your way through, share with any friends. It's entirely free. We just want people to be better at all of this. So please feel free to grab that or share that. But that should answer
I
a
was
lot of
talking
questions.
about our course in my stream on Saturday because for the longest time, this is funny. This is what I want you to hear about this podcasting. I want you to apply out the story I'm about to tell you. I'm trying to speak English, people, but it's jet lag. I want you to apply what I'm about to tell you in this story to podcasting in general. Okay, so when I started doing this stuff, content creating full time, a whole bunch of people were like, you should make a course. And I was like, I don't want to make a course. Why? Because I see a whole bunch of people out there that are quote unquote my contemporaries who are making courses who have no idea what they're talking about. And they're primarily, let's say, air. And I was like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I was kicking and screaming. And so my community got on my case and dragged me hard enough. And I actually made one. And then I liked it, but it still wasn't the same because it wasn't a course where you watch a bunch of videos and you're kind of hanging out in the corner by yourself. It was a live cohort. So it's basically 5 Zoom meetings. And Katie's like, okay, we're going to do this podcasting course. First of all, recording a podcasting course with Ecamm is a breeze.
Yeah.
It is so simple. It was way easier than I thought. But the thing I now realize I like about it so much is that when something changes, so if we come back, we have, I want to say 20-ish videos in the course. If we come back from Podfest and there's some crazy announcement that just changes the world, so you no longer have to do any sound processing because you could just press a button, I could come back and add that video to the course without redoing the whole thing.
Yeah, in like minutes.
In seconds, because it's Ecamm. And I was like, after doing it, I was like, oh, this could be addicting.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really funny. It goes back to the statement that came from, Tora listening to somebody before about like, I didn't want to do it, not because it was saturated, but I felt that most of the people were doing it bad. Well, if you don't like the state of social content right now, the only way you can fix that is complain about it or make good content.
Mm-hmm.
So we make good content.
Yeah.
Right? That's the best way to defend that horrible content is to make good content. And it was, pseudo selfish of not wanting to do it because, I've been doing this audio stuff for years. I got a lot of stuff I can help folks with. So it was thanks to my people for pushing me. And then same to Katie for pushing us to do the podcast course. Because after doing it, I was like, yo, this is actually pretty incredible and we should do more. So
yeah,
that's cool.
It was easy because we used a combination of Ecamm obviously to record all the videos.
Ooh, Ozil is coming to Podfest. Sorry.
Oh, hey, Ozil. We're so excited to find you.
So listen, I didn't do this on purpose. I swear. When you go into the lobby, there's going to be a bar.
Find us at the bar.
Our room is right next to the bar. So if you stand at the bar, you look to the side, you're going to see a sign that says Creators Unstuck Studio. Just walk, stagger, whatever. And I won't be mad at you if, never mind.
Come and record with us. We're going to have so much fun. We get
distracted at the bar. Yeah, so I swear I did not set it up on purpose, but they say, hey, your room is right next to the bar. Okay. So yeah, come see us. We're right from the main lobby. You'll see Unstuck Studios. It's called the Marriott Room.
It's called the Marriott Room.
I always want to say Marriott because it's at the Marriott, but it's Marriott.
I mean, it's called Unstuck Studios because we're awesome.
Oh, listen. All right, me and Ozil is tight already. He said, I'm going to grab an old fashioned and stagger it over.
Perfect.
I am the whiskey guy. So we're good. We're good. We're in the right ballpark.
Perfect.
Melvin said we're going to start doing podcasts in Dolby Atmos. That would be crazy. So in 5.1, when you're in like a house where they have all the speakers and you can hear the sound move around the room, could you imagine like just having sounds of Paul like bouncing around in here, like it's coming from different directions?
Marianne saying that she can't wait to go through the podcasting course. Let us know too. Like I know many of you have signed up and have worked your way through it. We are always open to feedback. So I know a couple of you have sent in like, hey, you're missing this video, or I'd love for you to go deeper on this topic. We are happy to update or to add in additional episodes. So we have kind of like dive deeper in this topic. Here's a full episode of The Flow. Where like, if there's something you want us to talk about, we are here for it. So let us know if there's a topic, or as you're working your way through, you're like, oh, this made sense, but I have some additional questions. Send those through.
And that was the one that made me realize how cool it is that we can just update it. Because my first thought is we recorded this whole thing and that person saying this thing isn't there, but like I made that video, so I kind of know it's there. And they go, yeah, but you just gotta update the video. And I'm like, okay. Well, it wasn't that simple. Katie was like, listen, jackass, just go record.
I was like, here are the details of what I need you to say.
Okay. So, but when I went back and I recorded, and then you realize that, okay, maybe on the second pass, I went deeper in.
Yeah.
And I understand that because, again, I have to constantly talk to Alicia and Yolanda. And they're like, you think you told us what you were doing, but you did not do that. So do it again. And then so, yeah, it's kind of cool that you can just update it on the fly. So if you guys have something that you think you want to see more or detail, let us know because we can just pop it in, and if I can't get to it or Katie can't get to it, Jeremy's here. Like we can send anybody to add on to the course. So it's really cool. And that's it for those of you guys who are doing this stuff and, you're trying to figure out some cool things you can do with your community. A course can be quick. I think I was under the impression courses had to be really, really crazy. I have watched some like 30-minute courses.
Yeah, and it also like
broken up into like little 5-minute, in a row chunks.
It also didn't. Again, so how we built that course out, we built it on Notion. So huge thank you to Kat Mulvihill, who's like the Notion god, the Notion queen. But that made it really simple because the benefit of Notion is that it immediately builds a website. You can update, like it's as easy as updating like a Word doc or a Google doc. So it just meant we just embedded the videos in. They're already sitting on YouTube. We were able to link through our like full episodes. So it gave a really nice framework where it wasn't like it was this very big cumbersome tool to learn. It wasn't like it was this really expensive software that like did all these things. Like it serves the job, right? It makes a public facing landing page that website really that has multiple landing pages. You can click through, you can embed videos, you can update the text. It takes seconds. Any of us can make any updates to any of it. So it's really cool. It's missing some, sure, there are other tools out there that will do more. Like they will, track how far along you are in the course and have, like systems built in to do XYZ thing. But we didn't need all of that. We just wanted to get you the content.
Track your progress with a fountain pen. Just make a mark on a piece of paper. Okay, let's call it that. So I'm super excited. Like I am really down to go and just discover what people are doing. I'm super excited to get people. I like dragging people into this podcasting thing because it is an amazing medium now to build community. And Katie mentioned at the top of the show about how people are looking for connection. And on Saturday, we were in my class, and Carlos, who's a licensed brain doctor person, lay on the couch, read these spots, psychologist.
I was like spots.
Rorschach.
Oh, got
the
it.
The Rorschach test. And I said, you keep hearing, a lot of talk about the loneliness, situation or whatever. And he goes, no, it's an actual legit problem. it is the most talked about thing in their space right now. And says even people who live in a house with like 10 people still are very lonely right now. People looking for connections. So I always say it sounds cheesy, but I swear it's the truth. There is legit a U-sized hole in somebody's heart. They're waiting to hear what you got to say. And in a way, if you're holding back just because you're afraid of what you're going to look like or somebody might laugh at you or whatever, you're kind of being selfish and you're letting your ego win because you could probably save somebody's life. Just get out there and do your thing. And it could be talking about crocheting or knitting or warbles or old VHS movies with the other crazy girl you grew up with. And that show is good. Like I'm in the house and even Karen's like, is Katie and Nat going on? And I'm like, yeah. So she's over on her computer, like doing her eBay stuff, but we're listening and, we're bringing up parts of the movie. And I'm normally doing something else because of the time that it runs for me, but I'm always there, just vibing.
It's
like
a connection
it's the perfect
point.
it's the
Yeah.
perfect connection.
Your show is a connection point, so don't sell yourself short. Well, we are about to wrap, but I did want to answer. This question about what podcast distribution platform we use because that's actually the end of our show anyway.
Well,
so we use YouTube obviously for.
Turns out,
but we also use.
It turns out, Louise, get ready with the graphic. It turns out that we use Captivate at captivate.fm. Now, we love Captivate because it is a distribution podcasting host platform. They're all sort of interchangeable words. We explain that deeper in the course, but they do specialize in a growth mindset. In other words, they're giving you tools and techniques that help you grow your podcast instead of just post and pray. You kind of post it and, they give some things to help you move along. So check out captivate.fm. Now, don't switch to the other slide yet, Luis, because I do want to say the one thing about distribution is that whenever you put it on pretty much any host, they will get you to the majors. And the majors are Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and then there's a bunch of semi-majors. But if you cover the first three, you're pretty much gold.
Yep.
iHeart, things of that nature. You're pretty much good. And almost I checked 3-4 different platforms that I have access to, and they all have incredible distribution. So check that out. Now, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, you just want to leave us a voicemail, go to flow.ecamm.com. That's flow.ecamm.com. And then, that way you can get to all of your places where your podcast getting is got.
I love the podcast getting is got. But...
Thank you. I don't know where I came up with that, but that was from when I did the Solid podcast years ago. It's super funny.
I will be back. Doc is actually traveling onwards to Liz Wilcox's house to do some awesome behind the scenes for Ecamm's Content Launchpad program. But I will be back next week at this time to be able to give a recap of Podfest. So please, I'm asking you, I'm begging you, I'm reminding you, flow@ecamm.com is the best place to email, or you can post into either Ecamm's Facebook group or Discord. But if you have any questions or you're going to be at the event, you wish you were going to be at the event and you want to know an answer for something, you'd love for me to ask. Mark from Captivate is going to be there, for example. Anyone in the podcasting world is going to be at this event. So please let us carry your questions to them. Let us get the answers. Let us connect you if you want to be connected with anyone. We're your people on the ground. So please take advantage of that. And we will do a recap on the other side. And then a final huge just hang in there and please stay safe to all of our friends and fam and influencers and Ecamm customers who are in LA and in California in general. We're missing you and we're rooting for you and we're here if we can do anything for you. But hugs to everyone there because I know it's a really hard time right now.
Yeah, 100%. And just a reminder, because my brother-in-law's mom's house was one of the ones that was taken down, and my sister posted today, if you decide you want to help out, please check the source really carefully, because all the cretins are coming out trying to scam people with the donation. So if you do want to help out, I would probably say go through Red Cross or the California Strong page. Just go direct, and again, just double check your sources because unfortunately, these type of events bring out the weirdos. And on the final statement, thank you, Saeed, for closing us out. Remember, a voicemail longer than 59 seconds is technically a podcast.
It's a podcast.
Saeed wins.
You can leave us a podcast voicemail on our website, flow.ecamm.com.
I don't know why he does that. It's so funny.
But
it's true.
You're
It's
the
kind of
best.
true. All right, gang. Flow Riders!
Out.